live, that means that you're visible to the attendees. Hello, everyone. This is Dennis, and we're here with the team at Autodesk, and we're going to talk about software engineering as a career path. I'd love to introduce everyone, but I think I do it injustice. So I'm going to hand out to Nina to introduce yourself and the team. Nina, take it away.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening from everywhere that folks are joining us today. Just wanted to do a very warm welcome to Autodesk, and we are here as an engineering leadership group to chat more about career pathing at Autodesk, especially in the software engineering aspect, and also share a little bit more about what Autodesk is out here. We do serve multi-million customers across the world, making reality, making it real for them. So we have products that cover design segments, media, engineering, and you can name it all. So, as we go into this panel discussion today, I wanted to take a few minutes to quickly introduce myself. I'm Nina Naidu, and I've recently joined Autodesk platform engineering team as a director of engineering. I'm here with a couple of our leaders, and I will shortly go into an introduction round with all of us. And with that said, I'll go into my first question for the day. Introductions for our leaders as to talk a little bit about their current role and just talk a little bit about your career journey here at Autodesk. So I'll start calling on a few folks here. So, Steve, do you want to take the stage first?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So my name's Steve Hooper, and I'm based in the Bay Area near San Francisco, and I run our product development organization who's responsible for all of our engineering tools. So as Nina mentioned, we serve a number of different industry segments. So broadly speaking, Autodesk serves three major industry categories. One which is in architecture, engineering, and construction. One which is in entertainment and media, so think of films, games, and TV. And then the one that we're all in is our design and manufacturing segment. So really, we create products and technology that serve manufacturers right the way through from conceptual definition of a product. Think of an iPhone, a car, or a piece of industrial machinery, right the way through to physical production and manufacture on the shop floor to turn that idea into a product that they can sell. So we have a number of groups that focus on different software categories. My group focuses on tools that are used to define design definitions, simulate them so we can understand their performance characteristics, and then translate that into manufacturing instructions. So if you think of down in a factory where you might have a machine that's cutting metal, there's a series of instructions you have to send to that machine. And those instructions are they're created by analyzing the part that you want to make, looking at the machine's capabilities, and then translating that into what we call G-code, which runs a machine tool. So we basically manage all of the software in that tool chain, as well as all the technologies necessary to manage that data and store it and collaborate with it in the cloud. So how I got to Autodesk actually is a bit of a different story to most people. I'm maybe a good example of how it's never too late. So when I left school, I didn't do so well at college, if I'm honest. So I actually ended up with a vocational education. So in the UK, where I'm originally from, you could get an apprenticeship working in an engineering firm. So I took a 4-year apprenticeship path, which was for a mechanical engineer. But 3 years of that you spend on the shop floor in a factory, in a machine shop, actually using tools and working to put these machines together. And then finally you end up in an engineering department. So I made my way through to engineering, started to use computer-aided design technology there, really got interested in that. I'd always been interested in computers. Decided that I really liked computer-aided design. I thought it was fascinating. And I'd always had an ambition to get into games. So I started learning in the evenings at my local college how to use a product called 3D Studio, which is used for building games. So if you think of like Call of Duty or any of those sorts of AAA games, they're written or the 3D models developed with that software. So I learned that. And then obviously those 3D skills kind of translated into opportunities in the engineering firm I worked for. And then a year or two after that, I saw an opportunity to work for an Autodesk reseller as what we call an application engineer. So that's somebody that shows the software to prospective customers. So I did that for a year and then found an opportunity at Autodesk in product support, moved there. And that's really where my kind of software journey started, because a lot of what you do in product support is working with the engineering team to identify defects with the software, basically package that up and confer with the engineering team. So anyway, I decided to go back to college because I really like software. So I went back and got a honors degree in software engineering. And then eventually that took me over here to the US. And I've spent the last 10 years here working on software engineering in a range of different positions, because there's lots of different functions you can pursue. You can go into what we call product management. The last speaker was just talking to you all about experience design, which has things like interaction designers, UI designers. So there's all sorts of things you can do there, as well as QA, software engineering, platform work. So range of different opportunities to work in. I went through the sort of product management path, and that's where I've been for the last 10 years. And it's been great. You get the opportunity to work on so many different areas of business to serve customers. It's never a dull moment. It's been fantastic fun.
Thank you, Steve. I will pass on next to Ian.
Thanks, Nina. Thanks for that good description, Steve, of what we do. That saves me repeating it. So my name's Ian Pendlebury. I'm VP of Engineering at Autodesk, in the same product that Steve works for. Engineering at Autodesk means software engineering. So I work with a team of software engineers who build out our products. My career path, I also started in the UK. I kind of was led into doing, everyone told me I should be an engineer, a mechanical engineer, and that's kind of where I went. And I kind of scraped a degree in mechanical engineering, but really didn't like it that much and really loved software and always chose the software angle on everything in my degree. And when I went to apply for jobs, everyone could see straight through that immediately. And I didn't get any mechanical jobs, didn't get anywhere with any jobs I applied for. And the one software job I applied for was at a company called Moldflow, who make software for simulating injection molding. And I kind of got that job. I got my foot in the door, and that was the start of a career in software, which has been continuous ever since. So I was, unlike Steve, I didn't get a degree in software engineering. I got a degree in mechanical engineering, and I was self-taught in software. So I taught myself. I read a lot of books, went on training courses all over the world, and learning all the new technologies that were coming out. That was, I started. There wasn't really even a Windows interface when I began, and all those things came out early in my career. So I was 10 years as a software engineer, and then I kind of moved into project management as I realized I couldn't keep up with the constant change and keep learning all these new languages and everything. And I picked project management as something that was going to stay around for a long time, and I wouldn't have to keep relearning things. And then project management led into people management, and that's crazy to think, but now I'm a VP of software engineering at a company like Autodesk, and I never thought that's where I would end up. So it was, but it's a fantastic place to work, Autodesk. I'm in my workshop here, and I get to play around with mechanical things at the weekend. Love using our software, and I'm really proud to build it, be part of building it too.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian. I'll move on to Zach. Zach's joining us from ACS.
Yeah. Hi, folks. I'm Zach Hayes. I'm based in San Francisco, and I am part of ACS, which is Autodesk Construction Solutions. So unlike Steve and Ian, I am in the team that is building software for the construction industry specifically. Autodesk has been a longtime leader in architecture. So we're like synonymous with tools that architects are using every day to design anything you could think of. But the construction focus is relatively new. And by construction, we actually mean the project management tools, the mobile devices out in the field. Autodesk has done a ton of acquisitions, acquiring startups to build out our portfolio here. And I came from one of those startups. I was the VP of product at Building Connected, which was a construction tech startup. But I started my career on what seemed like a fairly linear path to software development. I majored in computer science. And the reason why is Toy Story came out when I was a teenager, the movie. And I was like, I saw it and I said, I want to make movies like this. I want to be in 3D rendering. Everything about this seems amazing. And I went to a great program for that. And by the time I graduated, I realized I actually, I didn't love it at the end. I thought, I got an internship to work on things like that. And it's a slow moving software engineering role. And it's a lot of hours and it's tough. And I was like, well, I want to make more of an impact to real people's lives. So I actually switched roles after going into the industry, into product management, like Steve mentioned, which I think is a great role for anyone that wants to stay technical, but also there's so many facets. You have to understand experience design. You have to work with customers. It's sort of a multidiscipline role, which I love that piece about it. So I worked at big companies early in my career. Then I joined the startup scene. And then, like I said, Autodesk acquired the company I'm at, and now I'm leading teams here.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, everyone. It's awesome to know that, you can start anywhere and, rise and take on the next challenge and get to what you want to, and you don't have to have the same career pathing exercise, right? So awesome to hear from all of you on, what you are passionate about at Autodesk and how you got here. That leads us to our next question. And anyone out of the panel could, answer this first. But what excites you about working at Autodesk? When you come to work every day, or right now we're on Zoom every day, but what excites you the most?
I can take that one. So following up on, it's exciting that Autodesk has all that 3D stuff that I did and still love. We serve Hollywood in so many different ways, and you'll see some of the highlight reel that Ian posted if you want to take a minute and look at that side of our business. But day to day, I like that my team, at least, we're not solving Silicon Valley problems. There's a lot of startups and companies out here that are Silicon Valley companies solving Silicon Valley other companies' problems. And so it's nice. People that do construction every day are real people. It's a diverse population. We're not building for ourselves, and they really, really appreciate it. I remember early in my career in construction, we got a support ticket one day that was just unsolicited praise, and I was like, what's this person asking support for? And they're just like, no, they're just saying thank you for the impact that we had for fixing a feature for them so quickly. So that is the thing that gets me out of bed every day, is we're making a real impact on real people's jobs. And the construction industry affects all of us, regardless of where you are in your life. And so it's really important, and we have a big impact.
Thanks, Zach. Ian or Steve, do you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I can. I'll tell you what, I have this logo on my, I don't know if you can see this, on my, anyone who spends time with me on Zoom knows that I have a Fusion shirt on most of the time. Fusion's the product that we build. It's a CAD CAM CAE product. It's really disruptive, and I'm really proud to be associated with it. And what's amazing to me is sometimes I haven't been out in the street much in the last couple of years, but one time I was out in Portland wearing a Fusion shirt, and just some random person came up to me and high-fived me because he recognized the logo of Fusion 360, and there's not many things you can do where you get that kind of feeling of actually really making an impact on people and doing something really amazing. So that would be my thing.
I guess I've got three things for me: new technology, new customers, and new roles. So, like, the great thing about our industry is it's always cutting new technology somewhere. So you got things like additive manufacturing, where you're printing in 3D metals with lasers, or It could be, in some other area, like in the construction industry that Zach mentioned. We have the same parallel in production. People on the shop floor need to get access to manufacturing instructions, and they don't want to carry rolls of paper around with them. So you have all these new wonderful mobile devices to work with and deliver technology in different form factors. So that's really interesting. Second thing is the customers. So you never meet two customers alike. One day you could be working with, literally, I used to run our automotive group. So one day I'd be working with Apple, talking to their industrial design team about how they're going to build the next MacBook Pro and do the industrial design on that. The next day you're talking to Daimler about their new Mercedes-Benz C-Class series and what they're going to do for industrial design there. So customers are always varied and different. And then the final thing I'd say from a career path point of view, I love learning new stuff. So being able to work in a technology environment where you can learn all these different industries, but you can also work in marketing for a while and figure that out. There's plenty of technology applications in marketing, or you could work in sales, you can work in product management, you can work in XD. And I think one of the nice things about Autodesk is the flexibility they offer to employees who, when they're willing, can take on these new roles and move around the company and understand all these different facets of what we do. And ultimately, all of them touch the customer, just like Ian said. So whatever it is you're doing, you're trying to make a customer's life a better life, more enjoyable to use the product, more discoverable to understand what we can do to help them. User experience is always top of mind. So I think that, for me, those are the three things: technology, customers, and the varied disciplines and roles and experience you can get.
Awesome. Thank
I
you.
always kind of thought that, when people talk about a career path, we used to have a CEO who used to say to us, think of your career path as like a pyramid. The broader you can build the base, the more stable it is as you move forward. If you find one discipline, that's all you do, and you build vertically, it's a very wobbly tower. So I think the nice thing about an organization like this is just being able to get that varied base.
Thank you, Steve. I can definitely speak to having that pyramid base, because that's something that I think I've applied in my career, definitely in terms of growth. So I'll move on to some other interesting questions for this group. I wanted to hear, as we're talking about some of these career journey, career pathing and journey conversations, what would be your advice to somebody who wants to join Autodesk? Somebody who could be coming in from a college, somebody finishing up studies, somebody who's already in an industry working, somebody who's probably even at the mid or end point of their career journey, just to kind of see how everyone would fit in on their paths at Autodesk.
So one bit of advice I'll give you: I never waited for a job. So I had a friend who worked for a publishing company that used to publish the books for our training manuals. And I decided I wanted to work for Autodesk. So I got him to find out who the HR director's name and address was. And I wrote straight to him and said, I want to come work at Autodesk. Here's my skills and backgrounds. Here's what I think I could offer. Are there roles that you know of that would be a good fit? And that worked. That worked really well. So I wouldn't wait for the right role. I always think it's kind of, a lot of people like people who have the kind of ambition and drive to reach out and find a position rather than wait for it to come to them.
Yeah, to layer onto that, I'd also say, I had a mentor recently tell me, focus on what makes you fabulous and don't compromise on that. So you might see a job listing that you try to adapt your own personality towards or your own background at Autodesk. And, we want you as you are. So tell us what's fabulous about you, uniquely you, that's, not explicitly in the job description. And there might be something else that you didn't even know about, or something coming up. Like Steven said, if you want to work here, there's something specific we've said, or that you see in our highlight reel that you want to work on, an opportunity for you. So tell us what's great about you, and we can work from there.
Yeah, I would also, if you just go onto Google and search for Autodesk jobs, you'll find our own internal site, and there's a page on LinkedIn where we have all of our jobs too. So go and have a look there, and then the other specific bit of advice I would have is, if there's a job that you want to apply for, most of the jobs kind of roll up to some kind of a product team or some product that we make. If you're a student, you can install nearly all of our products for free. Go ahead and do that. Like, even if you're not a student, you can get a trial license of Fusion and get an opinion on it, use it, experience it, have a viewpoint. It'll make you a much better candidate come interview time. The other thing, which is advice I gave my son that worked, was make your LinkedIn profile interesting. Put real examples on there, put videos of work you're doing, just put your own projects up there, not just your experience or education. Put, go that extra step and make yourself stand out, kind of like Jack was saying too. But you can do it on LinkedIn now as well.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for the insights and the tips. Leaning into some of the great things that Autodesk has done or is working on, what would your take be on some of the digital transformation that's going on currently at Autodesk, and something that is very innovative and interesting to you as a leader? If there's an example you would want to share, what would that be?
Yeah, I could jump. So one thing that Ian's team's working on, which fascinates me, is AI ML projects, and one in particular that I've always believed would be pretty transformative for our industry is, when I used to work as an engineer, when the ideation piece, the piece where you're creative, is usually when you're coming up with some sort of concept definition, and then you build a model to kind of validate the idea or work. So you might build like some sort of 3D model and simulate it. And then you have to do this kind of procedural documentation. You have to sit there and create a drawing of it so that somebody else can go and make it. And the drawing is kind of rules based. You follow a standard, and it's not really creative. It's just documenting the idea you've already come up with. So everything that we're trying to do at the moment is to automate those pieces that are procedural, where there's some human decision about how you create the drawing and how you lay it out, but effectively it's governed by international standards. So that's where technologies like AI ML come in, where you can start to train an AI to look at existing designs and their documentation, understand the correlation between what was created in the 2D documentation versus the 3D design. So eventually it can produce the documentation for you and just eliminate that piece of the workflow. So a lot of our industry over the last 30 years has been focused on digitizing something just to capture a digital representation that can be shared more effectively or stored more effectively or reused more effectively. What these new technologies offer is the opportunity to completely automate something so that you don't have to waste time doing it. You can spend your time on the creative process. So this idea of applying AI in the cloud so that it happens in the background, you create a design and it's documented for you automatically, I think that's super exciting.
Great. Anyone else have anything to add?
Yeah, one thing, if you think about Autodesk, what we told you we do, there's three separate entities that feel like, how do these all fit together? So we have architecture, engineering, construction, which seems very different on the outside from manufacturing, which seems really different from entertainment and media, the Hollywood stuff that we're doing. But if you think 10, 20, 30 years into the future, these all converge. Which is exciting because we're on the forefront of that. So what I mean is, everything that Hollywood is pushing the limits on, Pixar, all these companies pushing the limits on 3D rendering, helps 3D design in architecture, which helps construction. And construction is moving more towards manufacturing practices. So we actually invest in several technologies on that front, specifically a company called Factory OS here in the Bay Area, where they're doing modular construction, building homes inside a warehouse using manufacturing techniques, higher quality, higher safety, ultimately driving down the cost. And there's a labor shortage. People don't go into the trades as often as they used to. So we are pushing the limits of these three very disparate industries together into a convergence point that is exciting. Like, it is world changing, and it's really exciting to be a part of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're really good points from Zach and Steve. I mean, something that I find interesting, and I'm really fascinated to see where it goes, is what's happening with devices, and especially how COVID has, when by devices I mean like a laptop or a phone or a tablet, and how COVID's changed how people do their jobs and use those devices. And that combined with a generation of people coming out of school now who are primarily used to using their hands and touching the screen, a small screen, to do things. Like very young children are trained from early age that that's how you use software now. And there's a big challenge for us to keep up with all of these dynamics in terms of expectations of users and the changes in device form factors and where devices are in use. So that's really interesting.
Thanks, Ian. Talking about some of the, career opportunities, there were some questions on it, and I just wanted to let the community know that we will have a lot of questions answered through the career fair tomorrow as well. So keep an eye out for that. We're definitely here to answer any other questions, that are being posted or can be posted on our chat. So feel free to do that while we're moving along the discussion here. So there is, I've been part of the Autodesk group for less than 5 months. Proud to be here and excited to be here. But one thing that, sometimes I don't always get answers to is because I'm working with, a limited area of scope, or, we're really focusing in on the platform journey. But even looking across Autodesk, what do you think are the ongoing challenges or some new challenges that we are facing, whether it's, the industries, industries are changing, or whether it's because we are in COVID versus just anything else. So if you want to talk about maybe something that's in your area of interest, that's a challenge, or just what Autodesk wide.
I think there's an industry challenge and an opportunity just in the cloud in general. So cloud is relatively new to software engineering, but not that new. It is very new to some of these older industries that we serve. So like Steve mentioned before, the power of the cloud is, we've seen it during this pandemic. Everything can be distributed. You can have infinite computing resources from your mobile device with ubiquitous connectivity. 10 years ago, that was not the case in construction. You couldn't use software in the construction sites. You maybe had a computer in the trailer and those types of things, but you didn't take it out to the actual building. So that has changed everything, and it's a challenge for us to keep up and keep ahead of the curve and meet the demand. But it's a huge opportunity. It's a transformational opportunity across a lot of our industries.
Thanks, Zach.
I'll get back to the skill sets, right? So, like you said, there's less people going into sort of trades. So it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. So if you look at construction, it's true. You look at manufacturing, it's true as well. There's less and less people that have the skill sets to go in and operate complex machinery. So, I always kind of draw the analogy or the parallel here to what happened in the desktop publishing industry, or publication industry. So if you go back sort of 40 or 50 years and you wanted to publish a newspaper or a magazine, you would have had all these different individual skill sets. You'd have had all, writers, editors, typesetters, layout experts, print press operators. And then you had this kind of revolution with desktop publishing where everything got digitized on a computer. And whatever you produced on your computer, what you saw on the screen was what you got when you hit the print button. So you could literally produce a magazine in something like Illustrator and print it straight out on a laser printer. And it revolutionized that industry because it meant pretty much anyone could create a publication anywhere they wanted. And I think the same kind of things happen to the manufacturing industry, or it's just about to happen. You can get a machine tool at home now. Ian's actually got one in his workshop back there. And typically that was a thing that would have cost $1 million and only a factory would have owned it. And you would have needed somebody with 8 years of experience to run it. Now what you've got is a system where someone can deploy the software on their laptop, produce a 3D design, and create the instructions to drive that machine. And they maybe need a couple of days, maybe a week. They could probably cut something right in. If you had someone in your shop, you could teach them how to do that in a week, at least some basic stuff, right? So that seems pretty, I mean, that's a big challenge. How do you kind of digitize and convert an industry like that when it's been around for 200 years? So
yeah, and like someone put on the chat there that they use Fusion 360 for 3D printing. You can buy yourself a 3D printer for a couple $100 and get a trial or a personal license of Fusion and be designing and making things in a day. And that was impossible a few years ago. My pick for a challenge for Autodesk right now is hiring. I think it's not just Autodesk, but I think as we're starting to come out of COVID, people are trying to hire, and there are lots of opportunities for technology. People who have a technology background looking to get started in a career. There's a lot of competition, so part of our motivation for being here is to make sure you know who Autodesk are and that we have a lot of jobs. We have a lot of openings, and not only is it challenging to get people to apply for roles and find good candidates, but we want diverse candidates too, and that's challenging too around the world and in the US. We are actively looking for diverse applicants for the roles we have, and just the whole hiring process is pretty challenging right now.
yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Ian. That actually leads us, we're getting close to the end of our discussion, and I wanted to just remind everyone that, we do have a new office in Atlanta that just recently opened up. Well, we're closed now for COVID, but we'll reopen when things get better. But I think we have a lot of opportunities here in the Atlanta office, a lot of remote openings that are available, I think, across all our groups, and many other groups at Autodesk, whether it's, in the Bay Area, Portland, I would say, different parts of the East Coast, Midwest, we have a lot of opportunities there as well. So feel free to take a look on the Autodesk site and see what works for your location and the kind of role that you're looking for, because we're constantly looking for candidates on LinkedIn, any kind of media presence that we can have and find candidates. So
it probably helps to understand, like I couldn't agree more with what Ian just said, but it probably helps to understand why we think that's important. Like, I was listening to the previous speaker, and I think he was talking about the fact that the more diverse a team, the more likely you are to have innovative ideas. So if you fill up a team with people who look, think, and have the same backgrounds as each other, you're going to just get the same ideas again and again and again. So by having that greater diversity pool within your organizations at all levels, you generally stimulate more innovative ideas. Like, you see it time and time again. Teams with more diverse members come up with better ideas. They have more creative thinking. So for us, it's not a thing that we want to do just because it's good for the community. It is good for the community, but we also want to do it because it makes a business more effective and more competitive. So if you understand that, I think you can kind of pitch some of that diversity in terms of thought diversity when you're looking for roles and speaking to hiring managers.
Are not San Francisco-based software people. They come from every community around the world, and speaking as 3 white male leaders from our company, diversity is going to help us serve our customers better.
Yeah, we're overweighted on English middle-aged people.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting to note that there's almost a 1/3 part of like our Autodesk community that's in Americas, in the European region, and in Asia Pacific, right? We are pretty diverse even where we are and where we belong. So just to remind the community that it's a global company that we're all working for.
Actually, that's another really good point, right? Don't write off an opportunity just because of your geographic location. We employ people remotely. We also offer relocation packages. So don't get put off by the fact that something's not in your regional area. There's still opportunities, definitely.
Thank you. So I know we are getting close to the last bit. I wanted to give each of you like a quick minute to put any closing remarks that you may have around careers at Autodesk or anything that was on your mind.
I've got so many friends that I grew up with that I know who hate their jobs. I think I'm one of the only people that it didn't matter what level I worked at. I started as a junior support technician. I worked in marketing, sales, product management. I've worked all over the place in different countries. Every stage of my career, I think I'm the only person I know out of my peer group that when I grew up that actually really enjoyed their job and didn't get out of bed every morning just looking forward to the weekend. Don't compromise on that. Find a job. You're going to spend 3/4 of your life doing your job, maybe 2/3 of your life doing a job. Make sure it's something that you're passionate about and that you enjoy. Don't settle for less than that. And this is a great example of a place you can come work and you genuinely will enjoy every day that you get out of bed.
I would say if you haven't heard of Autodesk, this is the first time you've heard of Autodesk, do a bit of research. Go and have a look at our products. Have a look on Glassdoor, see what the people are saying about what we do. I think it's a great place to work, and then look for the jobs. And like I say, figure out what product it is, learn about it, and if you're interested, apply for the jobs because we're looking for people.
And I think just a reminder, everyone here is obviously interested in building software in some way, shape, or form, but not all software jobs are created equal. I've had some in the past that were not for me, but everything's different. So find the job that's going to work for you.
Thanks all. Thank you, Zach, Ian, and Steve. As I close out, I just wanted to thank all our panelists and thank you, Dennis, for having us here and being able to participate with BitCon. I wanted to also remind the community that we do have a career fair tomorrow where we'll talk a little bit more about what kind of roles we have available, what's the culture code, what can candidates do to connect with us. We will have some recruiting team on staff there. So please, you can join us from the career fair booth site. And don't forget to take a look out for some YouTube videos on Autodesk. We just closed out an Autodesk University Week. So there are some awesome new Autodesk videos out there about things that we do and how innovative our products are. So make sure that you grab those from YouTube, and you can visit our website as well. With that, I'll pass it on to you, Dennis. Thank you for this.
No, thank you, and I appreciate the information. And folks, Autodesk is the real deal. If you wanted to work for a real top tier, best of breed software company, you could do a lot worse than Autodesk. So definitely check out the career fair tomorrow and get all your questions answered. But thank you guys, Stephen, Nina, Ian, Zach. You guys are awesome, and hopefully we'll be in communication soon. Take care and enjoy the rest of the afternoon or evening where you are.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.